Hello, everyone. I don't know about you, but I just want to share that what I've been experiencing the last 24 hours is the power of relationships as we ascend and as we shift into these higher aspects of us. Relationships are the first and most powerful way that we can really see where our frequency is and what we're resonating in. Because many of us are in relationships still, friendships, relationships with coworkers, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, family members. We are in these relationships that hold contracts, and these contracts are based on a much lower frequency than we are standing in right now in our body. So we're being rubbed up against, we are being forced to see and experience ourselves in these relationships that may no longer resonate. And what does that look like? It looks like us needing to speak our truth more. It looks like holding firmer boundaries. It looks like doing all of the things that we haven't done before in that relationship, speaking up for ourselves, separating, leaving, all of the things that may be experienced right now in many relationships that you're having. So what I want to remind you is that there's nothing wrong with you and there's nothing wrong with the other person. In fact, it's not even about the other person. It's about you beginning to step into these higher aspects of you within the physical form that are urging you to start to be these higher aspects, which means, hey, Lori, remember, that doesn't resonate with you anymore. You don't like having that kind of conversation. You don't like being in that sort of back and forth. You don't like saying yes when you really mean no. You actually don't feel that anymore, right? All of these things, you actually want to speak up and say the truth to this person, right? Whatever it is that's happening, it's because your resonance is shifting. And the resonance of the other individual may not be. Resonance, right? May not be. And that's okay. But the more you awaken and the more you feel your resonance, the more you're going to be observing these relationships unraveling or no longer being comfortable to be in. Okay? You are going to be urged by these aspects of you to speak up, to step away, to speak louder, to put firm boundaries up, to say no, right? This is what's happening. And it's scary for many of us. It feels uncomfortable for many of us. And it can take a lot of practice to navigate through what we are being asked to do by these higher aspects of us. Okay? So having compassion for yourself, being honoring the fact that you're hearing and feeling these new vibrational frequencies in you, these new ways of being that are trying to come out and be in you, right? So it's going to feel a little crunchy, perhaps. It's going to feel very invigorating and empowering, right? There's all kinds of ways in which we may be navigating these relationships. There may be a lot of sadness and tears. But my recommendation to you is to remember what's happening from the bigger perspective. That way you don't get entangled in the she said, he said victim mentality, right? You want to step away and remember, oh, this served a purpose. We contracted this. We agreed to this. This is divine. This is beautiful. And I am stepping into these higher versions and aspects of myself. And this contract doesn't hold that frequency. I see, I get what's going on. Okay, now how can I lovingly and compassionately begin to move and be in these higher realms with these aspects of me and navigate these relationships, right? Some relationships are going to need to be severed. Some relationships are going to be renegotiated. Some relationships are going to merge into something else. And some relationships are going to be cut. And yet that individual may still be in your reality, just not in that same sort of contractual way. There's a million ways in which we can navigate these relationships, no right or wrong. But let's remember what's going on from the bigger perspective, and that way you don't get entangled in it. It's okay to get entangled. You'll be entangled in the beginning, right? Emotionally, mentally, perhaps physically, exhaustion and whatever may be occurring as you are experiencing these relationship shifts. But if you start to step into the observer space, right, and you start to watch and remember what's going on, you will be able to move through it with more compassion and ease and grace, right? Because it can take many practice rounds before you nail it, and before you are remembering and learning how to stand in these aspects of you that are requiring you to step into. They're screaming, hey, come over here, you're in this vibration. Okay, but I'm trying to navigate this older frequency that I was in for so long with these other individuals. Hold on, I'm doing the best I can. Great, we're waiting, let's go, right? You take your time, you have compassion. But listen to that voice that's nudging you. Listen to that frequency and resonance when you're standing in front of someone and it just doesn't feel right anymore. Honor that, especially if it's a relationship that you have been so enmeshed in, that the patterns and contracts are so heavy that you just fall into the pattern with them, right? That is an unconscious pattern. We're getting conscious of it, we're awakening, and it's like, oh my God, this is not feeling good anymore. The more awake and conscious you can be when you're in that experience back and forth with that individual, watching yourself, watching them, watching the contract play out, the easier it will be for you to no longer play in the contract. So it's not black and white, it's not good or bad, it's not right or wrong, and it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. Boom, right? We have to observe and be compassionate for ourselves and the other humans that are also doing this or not doing this, whatever their choice is, okay? Observe, step back, honor yourself. I'm moving into a higher frequency. I'm being nudged to say something. I'm being nudged to put up boundaries. I'm being nudged to walk away. Whatever that is, honor it. This is the ascension journey. This is the ascension path. And there's nothing wrong or right with any of it or how you play and navigate this. It's just a reminder that right now, holy cow, relationships are really coming to the surface. They have been for quite some time, but it's getting louder and louder and louder, right? You can't be in that anymore. You can't speak in that space anymore. You can't do those things anymore, right? And here we go. I love you all. Be compassionate for you. Be compassionate for all the other humans, and remember that you're shifting.